What's up guys, Cliff from the Sunday Drive, and today we're going to be installing the brand new Diode Dynamics SS3 Foglight kit on my 2014 Silverado. So welcome back to the channel guys. We are in the process of wrapping my 2014 Silverado. As you see, there are a lot of bits and pieces on it, and what better time to upgrade the fog lights on the truck. So I saw that Diode Dynamics came out with a new fog light kit for my 2014 Silverado, so I reached out to them. They were nice enough to send over this kit for us to install. I did not pay for this kit, so I like to always mention that in the beginning of the videos. They sent me a nice hat too, so thank you guys for doing that. But I do know that they are a very good brand. My brother has these on his 2016 WRX, absolutely loves them, and I was really pumped to see that they had come out with a kit for my 2014 Silverado. So in today's video, we're gonna be showing you how to get these hooked up. This also has the optional backlight feature, so we'll be showing you how to wire that as well. If it doesn't come with that feature, or you select the version of the kit that doesn't have that feature, it will be simply plug and play. But even with this additional feature, it is still very simple to install. A little bit of disassembly required on the 14 and 15 models, unfortunately, so we'll be going through that in today's video. So let's get into it. So as you can see, we have these really nice housings and then a very nice LED pod. And this does come in a few different options depending on the configuration that you want to run. And as always, make sure that you're legal for wherever you're installing this at, and if you're using an on-road use. They also include the necessary harnesses, and you will get a couple options in the harness. So if you have a kit that has the amber or white backlight, you're going to have an additional connection. It's going to be a slightly longer harness so that you can tap in for that additional power source. If you are not running the backlight option, you'll just have a short harness like this that's completely plug and play, and you'll plug into your factory harness coming from the vehicle and then into the LED pod. Now you will have two different sets of wires that come with the kit. One will be labeled PS26W and the other one will not have a label on it. This is because some of the generations have a different plug. It's a very minor change, and I'll show you how to figure out which plug you have, but it's a very minor difference between the two, but they include both, so whichever plug you have, it will work for you. Now we have the front bumper completely disassembled. All the plastic and everything is removed because we're getting ready to wrap it. But the way you can tell which harness you're supposed to use is take your factory harness, which in our case is still attached to the front bumper, and you're going to take the plug and clip it in. Now you'll notice the one doesn't quite want to clip. It's close, it seems like it should. So this is the PS26W. And that one's not working for me. But if I go over to the other one that does not have a label on it, and I slide that in, you'll see that that clips very nicely. So they look almost identical. I was looking at them and I was trying to see a difference and I couldn't see a difference. I think the only difference is maybe this one is a little bit deeper. I think the plug can go in further, and this one's a little bit more shallow. Otherwise, I think diameter-wise and they seem to be the same. So I think it's the depth of the plug that's different. But if you're not sure which one is correct for yours, just try the one. If it doesn't work, then it's the other one. All right. All right, so as I mentioned, the front bumper is off of the truck, and I tried really hard to see if we could install this kit without removing the front bumper. I did see one other guy that did this online. He left the bumper on, but I think it was way more of a pain the way he did it, and towards the end of the video, he agreed that most likely removing the bumper would actually be easier. So we do have a full DIY guide on how to remove the front bumper. It's not a terrible thing to remove, so you just got to pop this trim out that sits above it right here, and then you'll have access to all the bolts. I do believe in that video, I shot it a while ago, I think when I shot that I also removed the grill at the same time. You don't have to remove the grill, you could just pull out that bottom piece, I believe, but go through the video so I'm not making mistakes and leading you wrong. That video will show you exactly what to do. But unfortunately, because of the design with the 2014 and 15 bumper, you're not simply able to slide out the fog light through the front or out the back. On the previous generation of this truck that this fog light kit actually also works on, it's the same housing, you were able to slide the fog light out directly through the front of the bumper with very minimal assembly, just taking off really the The fender liner was probably the only thing you would have to do. But unfortunately, with the design of this bumper, it is sandwiched between the bumper as well as all this back bracing right here. So to remove the fog light from the backside, you would have to remove all of this bracing right here, which you can imagine working in the tight space underneath the bumper would kind of be annoying. If you try to pull it out straight through the front, there's this additional piece right here. So I actually disassembled this all with the bumper installed, trying to figure out if there was a way to do it, but there wasn't. So this piece prevents this whole assembly from sliding out through the front, or I should say the fog light from sliding out through the front, because you can see the fog light is stuck, let me put this back in, is stuck behind this, so the fog light won't fit through the middle here because of this piece. Makes it look nice, but it makes it a pain to install. So I had this all unclipped. I'm like, well, maybe I can unclip it and slide the housing back and then drop this down through the bottom of the bumper and then pull the fog light out. But unfortunately, there's not enough play even after this whole assembly is unbolted. It's held in by a whole bunch of 7mm. There's not enough play to pull this part of the housing back and then drop this down. It only came out to about right there, and I couldn't pull it out through the bottom. So unfortunately, through my extensive research and trial and error, I believe there is no way to install this without either pulling the bumper off or removing all of this back bracing. I would vote that pulling the bumper off is far easier. So we're gonna start the installation from this point. So you can watch our bumper removal video, see how to do that, and then come back here and we'll show you how to get the fog light installed. So once you have your bumper off, it's not necessary to completely remove this housing, but I'm gonna film the installation right up here just because it's gonna be easier to show you everything. So the first thing you're gonna have to do is unclip this front cover piece right here. It's held in by two 7mm bolts. There's one that goes right here and one that goes right here, and then there are two tabs along the bottom, and then there are two tabs along the top. So with those two 7s removed, you can pop these tabs out. This is a little easier because I already had it loose, but you can get those tabs off. And now you have access to your fog light itself. And this is where the older generation is similar. They do have the same type of retaining clips at the back. There are 3 that hold it in place, and you have to compress all 4 sides of it at the same time and push out. And this is not easy to do simultaneously, so we're going to try to, like in the Diode Dynamics video, they kind of push one tab in and then slowly work around. I'm gonna see if that works. It wasn't working for me the other day, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Because now we have it out of the truck and it might be a little easier, so. Oh, there we go, got it, okay. So that did work. I just kept popping them in until they kind of held, and that's pushed in, so those are all now released and they won't re-engage since it's pushed down. Now these two might be a little harder because they're a little bit closer together. I would recommend starting with this outside one because it's further away, so the light can rock a little bit. So we'll try this one next. I'm just going to keep some downward pressure on it. Okay, there we go. So now we got 2 of those released, and be careful that it doesn't drop. I mean, we are swapping it out, so if something happens to it, it's not the end of the world, but maybe put a rag under here so it hits like a softer surface. They should all be released, so this should drop here. There it goes. Okay, that last one was a little snug for some reason. Okay. There you go. That's the fog light removed from the housing. To assemble your new LED fog light, you're going to take the provided little square white clips and pop that in right there. And then we're going to go over to the fog light that we just removed, and you're going to notice that there is a slit right here. So you're going to push that off in the opposite direction of the slit, like that. You can see how it's opening up and pops off. So we're going to reinstall that onto this right there and just have that slit facing towards the middle. And then we're going to do the same right here. And pop that on to our new Diode Dynamic bracket. All right. Now for this last one, you could pop the white part off, but it's not necessary if you have a thin screwdriver, because we're going to be transferring this whole screw over, and this is the set screw for the height adjustment on the fog light. So we're just gonna fully remove this. All right. And install it to where we put that white clip that came with the new kit. All right, so I'm just gonna set it to about the same depth, and you can adjust the height post-install. All right, so something like that. Now make sure you're using the correct bracket. Right up under this one right here, I'll pop that back off real quick. You can see it says RH for right hand. Might be a little hard to see. So right hand for passenger, LH, left hand for driver. So we're doing the passenger one first. Now you're gonna take the new housing and you're gonna take the nylon lock washers that were provided with the kit, and you're gonna slide them into these slots right here so you can see the hole, and you're gonna slide it into those slots. Move this back down. You want the nylon facing towards the inside. So one's gonna sit in there like so, and the other. So make sure you tap this a little bit so that those nuts fully seat down inside the sleeves. And then you wanna take your housing and you wanna make sure that the plug is gonna be on the bottom of the housing. All right, so when this is installed, this will be towards the bottom of the vehicle. Now that you're up in there, you're gonna take your provided bolt and washer and a 5/32 Allen key. Get that started. I'm gonna get both sides started before I tighten down on this. I'm gonna slide this all the way. Let's see, where do we want this to sit? Okay, so there's a little bit of adjustment in here, it looks like, so you can kind of slide it in or out. I'm going to probably move it up so it's like flush with the cavity walls, so like flush like right there. And I'm gonna tighten that down. Just check both sides, make sure you're about the same. You don't want to overdoing this, over tighten this, because there's plastic between here and there, but you are going into metal, which is nice. Now, you probably won't be able to over tighten it too much because you'll hit that back wall anyway of the sleeve that the nut is sitting in, so those are pretty snug. So I'm just gonna do a little more twist to make sure they don't pop out. Okay. All right, so let's pop that back into the housing real quick. So we're gonna take the housing that we removed from the truck. And again, you don't need to remove this housing. I just already had this one off, so easier to film over here and show you guys all the steps. All right, so you're gonna wanna make sure you're lining up. Just get this last inside one. It's fighting me a little bit, but it's close. All right, so we get all those popped in. Now, the one that did give me a little bit of trouble was the one with the screw. So it's possible if you don't have the screw out far enough, it won't be able to make it all the way up in here. So if that's the case, you can either pop this back out or try to carefully twist this. Just make sure you don't break the tabs. I was able just to stick the screwdriver in there and loosen it just a little bit, and that gave the tabs enough room to pop out. So you want to make sure all your tabs are clipped in. And then we can take the front cover plate and we can pop that back in. And there you go. You can see we have a very nice, clean looking install. Looks like it came that way from the factory. So, except it's much better than how it came from the factory. So let's show you guys how to get this wired up. So just to show you guys real quick, in case you decide to pull your fog lights out like we did, they're the two 7mm we reinstalled. And then you're just gonna slip this back in right here. Like so. Then you got one 7mm right on top, right there, and then you have one on each side. So the good thing is, once your bumper is removed, this is way easier to install, or access all these bolts, I should say, but it is annoying that the bumper does have to come off. So thank you, GM, for changing that design from 2013. And obviously we have our headlights out, which makes this even easier, but that is not necessary by any means. But you can see why we did this while we were wrapping the truck anyway, because there's plenty of room to access everything. Now, if you have the amber backlighting, the wiring color may vary for your truck. So we're gonna show you what it is on our truck and how we've determined the correct wire to tap into. But I would recommend double checking for your specific vehicle, as the colors may vary from year to year. And this is a 2014 that I'm working on, but sometimes even within the same model year, you can have variations. So what we did is we took a test light and we put the truck into auxiliary mode, where it was just in the on position, but actually in the run position. Our test light wasn't quite reaching down to the pins inside of the plug here, so we got a little piece of wire. You want to make sure you don't ever cross these and short anything out, so make sure you're doing one at a time. And we just touched it to the different pins until this lit up with the parking lights on. And what we determined is on the driver's side or passenger side, it is this grayish wire. At least it looks gray to me. It's the thinnest wire in the bunch, at least that happens to be on my truck. And then let's look over on the driver's side. And over on the driver's side, again, it's a thin wire here, but it's more of a purple color. So you can tap to that harness. You also could tap directly to the wires going into the lights. I did not test to figure out which wires here are the correct ones. So if you want to go this route, you will need to determine which wire is the correct wire for your two running lights. All right, so if you take the cover off of your fuse box right here, you can see that I've actually already done a add a fuse or a fuse tap for the LED light bar that I run at the front of the truck, and we have a video showing how we got this wire up into the fuse box. So I'll link to that video above and down in the description so you can see how we ran the wire in here. And there are two 15 amp fuses right behind this relay right here. They are fuses 28 and 29. It's written down on the back of the fuse box right here if you aren't sure of which fuses are for your truck, so always double check for your specific vehicle. But on mine, it is fuses 28 and 29 right behind this relay right here. So we're gonna tap into those fuses with some add-a-fuse connections just like this one, and that will give us a nice watertight connection, as opposed to tapping right at the headlight where that will be exposed to water, salt, and corrosion over time, and this should hold up and last a lot longer. So that's what we're gonna be doing. All right, so we got the wires run up into our fuse box, and we went below the fuse box right here. So the one harness was long enough to reach. The other harness we had to extend with this red wire here, the passenger side, to get up into the fuse box. Now you wanna make sure you disconnect your battery. Anytime you're working with electrical stuff, it's a good idea. But in particular, to get the wires up in here, you have to lift off the entire fuse box cover. So make sure your battery's disconnected when you do that. To remove this top part of your fuse box, you're going to pivot both of these arms right here fully to the middle. They're gonna actually touch together in the middle. And then you can rock it off and this will completely lift off. And there's some empty fuse locations in here, like these two spots right here, and I just drilled 2 holes for each of the wires, and then I tapped them into the fuses that we showed you earlier. All right, so it's a couple days later. We finished getting the front end of the truck wrapped in this nice bottle green color, and I absolutely love how the yellow fogs look with the regular running lights. Now these are gonna change white when I actually enable the fogs, but anytime you have your daytime running lights on or driving lights, these are also gonna turn on in this nice amber color, and I think it looks fantastic with the green on the truck. So I'm really happy with the light output of these in the normal fog light mode. They look fantastic. Now we're not gonna do a before and after comparison of the light output. Diode Dynamics already has a great video showing how to do that, and there's a lot of other videos that show that online, but we really wanted to focus on the installation process on the 2014 Silverado and just give you a quick overview of how they look, and I am thrilled with how these look over the stock fog lights. All right, guys, so that's how you install the Diode Dynamic SS3 Foglight kit on your 2014 or 2015 Silverado. Definitely a lot harder than the earlier models, but it's doable, and I think the time invested is well worth the outcome. absolutely thrilled with how these look. So if you guys have any comments or questions, be sure to leave them down below and we'll do our best to get back to you. Links to the products will be in the description, so be sure to check those out. And as you can see, we wrap the truck. And if you're interested in having a wrap done or any of these upgrades that we do on the Silverado to your vehicle, be sure to hit us up. The one thing we aren't offering yet is AFM deletes. I know a lot of guys reach out about that. But a lot of the other upgrades that we do on the truck, we would be happy to help you out with. So we will see you back in the next video.